Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom. Try that with me. Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Umevorach, Shabbat Shalom, Umevorach.
Welcome, everyone. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
We are so glad that you are with us here at Temple Israel on this beautiful spring evening as we gather as a congregation. Some of us are back here in the sanctuary for the first time in more than 2 years. Yes, raise your hand if it's your first time back in more than 2 years. It's wonderful. Welcome back. Welcome back. And we are here for lots of celebrations on this day. We're here to celebrate Shabbat, of course. We're here to celebrate in anticipation of Sam and Leo and Isaac becoming B'nai Mitzvah tomorrow. We're here to celebrate the dedication of Jerusalem Day Tonight, our monumental new work of art by Stephen Wilkes, and gift of Stephen and his wife Betty. We're here to celebrate Yom HaAtzmaut, Israel's Independence Day, which will be in the week to come, and to observe yesterday, Yom HaShoah, Holocaust Remembrance Day as well. We're so glad that you're here, whether in person or via our live stream. I'm Rabbi Michael Friedman, joined by Rabbi Zach Pleasant, and by Mike Lantowski, by Sean and Eric, Stephanie and Brian, and Lester, our staff. The gang's all here. It's going to be a wonderful Shabbat. So to get us started, there's still lots of light outside now, but by the end of our service, it will be fading. And our role as Jews is to bring more and more light into the world. So we're very pleased to invite Isaac Schickler and Sam and Leo Viner forward for the lighting of our Shabbat candles, page 120. Page 120.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner Shel Shabbat.
Kabbalat Shabbat is one of many Jewish traditions that connect us directly to the land of Israel. For it was just at this time in the late afternoon in the hills outside Tzfat in northern Israel that our rabbinic ancestors would leave their synagogue or their house of study, and they would go out into the fields and into the orchards. And with the sunlight drifting through the branches and the leaves, they would sing these songs, these psalms, ancient words of welcome to our day of contemplation and focus, our day of togetherness and rest. A welcome to Shabbat. Page 131.
Shiru l'Adonai kol haaretz. Shiru l'Adonai shir chadash. Shiru l'Adonai kol haaretz. Shiru l'Adonai shir chadash. Sing unto God all the earth a new song. I will sing unto God a new song. Sing unto God and we'll all sing along. All the earth a new song unto God. Shiru, shiru l'Adonai kol haaretz. Shiru l'Adonai shir chadash. I will sing unto God a new song.
Page 134.
Yai, lai, lai, lai. Yai, lai, 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 lai. Yai, lai, yai, lai, lai, lai. Yai, lai, 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 lai. Yai, lai, yai, lai, lai, lai. Yai, lai, 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 lai. Zamru l'Adonai. Zamru l'Adonai bechinor, bechinor b'kol zimra. B'chatzot rot b'kol shofar. Hariu lifnei hamelech Adonai. Yai, lai, lai, lai. Yai, lai, 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 lai. Yai, lai, yai, lai, lai, lai. Yai, lai, 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 lai. Yai, lai, lai, lai. Yai, lai, lai, lai. Yai, lai, 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 lai. Yiram hayam tevel veyosh veva neharot yimcha ucha yachad harim yeraneinu. Yai, lai, lai, lai. Yai, lai, 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 lai. Yai, lai, yai, lai, lai, lai. Yai, lai, 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 lai. Yai, lai, yai, lai, lai, lai. Yai, lai, 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 lai.
And as our rabbinic ancestors of generations gone by were singing these psalms of welcome to Shabbat, they would imagine that angels would come or that a beloved would come and join their community. Today I like to think that what we're asking to join us is that which we are lacking in our lives. So what is it that you need this Shabbat? Think for a moment. Maybe it's a little comfort. Maybe it's a little strength. Maybe it's a little peace at home or in our world. Maybe it's health or a helping hand. Whatever it is that each of us lacks, may we find it here in this place on this Shabbat. Lecha Dodi, pages 138 and 139.
Lecha Dodi, likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha Dodi, likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Shamor v'zachor b'dibur echad, Ishmiyanu el hamyuchad, Adonai echad u'shmo echad, Hashem ultiferet v'litchila. Lecha Dodi, mikrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha Dodi, likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Likrat Shabbat lechu v'nelcha, ki hi mekor habracha. Merosh mikedem nesucha, sof ma'aseh b'machshavat tchila. Lecha Dodi, likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha Dodi, likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Hitoreri, hitoreri, ki ba'oreh kumi ori. Uri, uri, shir daberi, kevod Adonai alayich nigla. Lecha Dodi, likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha Dodi, likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nekabela.
We rise and face the entrance of the sanctuary for the 9th verse.
Boi v'shalom ateret ba'ala, gam besimcha uv'tzola, toch emunei am segula. Boi kala, boi kala. Lecha Dodi, likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha Dodi, likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha Dodi, likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha Dodi, likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nekabela.
We turn forward to page 146 as we enter the heart of our prayer service with Baruch Hu.
Ya la 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 la, 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 ya la 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 la. Barechu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach Le'olam va'ed, Le'olam va'ed. Ya la 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 la, 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 ya la 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 la.
Please be seated. There's a time of year at which we are so very well attuned to the cycles of our natural world as each day we see new buds, new flowers, new greenery, new colors popping up all around us. It is a very Jewish thing to be attuned to the coming of spring. Our ancient ancestors wrote love poetry, all centered around spring, that made it into our Hebrew Bible, the Tanakh. It's called the Song of Songs. An excerpt. Arise, my beloved, my beauty, and come away. For now the winter is past. The rain is over and gone. Flowers bloom from the earth. The time of singing has come. And the voice of the dove is heard throughout the land. The fig tree puts forth its fruit. The vines are in blossom. They give forth fragrance. So arise, my love, my beauty, and come away.
Baruch atah Adonai Ha'ma'ariv Aravim.
Page 152.
Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Vaed. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha bechol levavcha ubechol nafshecha ubechol meodecha ve'hayu הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו, ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני Adonai Elohechem, asher hotzeiti etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim, liot lachem le'Elohim, ani Adonai Elohechem.
On page 155, we share this poem by William Berkowitz. Love your God with every heartbeat, with every breath, and with every conscious act. Keep in mind the words I command you today. Teach them to your children. Talk about them at work, whether you are tired or you are rested. Let them guide the work of your hands. Keep them at the forefront of your vision. Do not leave them at the doorway of your house or outside your gate, for they are reminders to do all of my mitzvot so that you can be holy for God. I am Adonai your God. I led you out of Egypt to become your God. I am Adonai your God. On page 158, we sing this song of redemption, of coming out of Egypt, a song of gratitude to God. Nichamocha.
Yai lai 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 Yai lai 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 Yai lai 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 Yai lai 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 yai lai 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 Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai Mi kamocha nehedar b'kodesh Nora tehilo rosei feleh Nora tehilo rosei feleh Malchutecha ra'u banecha Bokeh yam lifnei Moshe u'Miriam Ze Elianu ve'amru Ze Elianu ve'ameru Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed.
Oh God, in a world beset by anger and division and war, we ask that you grant, O God, that we lie down in peace tonight and that we may rise up tomorrow to life renewed. Spread over us, God, your shelter of peace. Hashkivenu, page 160.
Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom V'hamidenu shomreinu l'chaim l'chaim Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom V'hamidenu shomreinu l'chaim l'chaim Ufros aleinu sukat shlomecha V'taknenu be'etza tova milfanecha V'hoshienu leman shemecha
As we rise for the blessings of the Amidah on page 164, we're reminded of the teaching of Rabbi Abraham Joshua Heschel, who said that prayer is an invitation for God's presence to suffuse our spirits and for God's will to prevail in our lives. Prayer may not bring water to parched fields, nor mend a broken bridge, nor rebuild a ruined city. But prayer can water an arid soul. Prayer can mend a broken heart. And prayer can rebuild a weakened will. We begin page 164.
Adonai sefatai tiftach ufi agi tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei avotenu v'imotenu Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomer Chasadim Tovim, V'Konei Hakol, V'Zocher Chasdei Ahavot v'Imahot, ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם למען שמו באהבה מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן ברוך אתה אדוני מגן אברהם ועזרת שרה אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני מחיי הכל הצרב להושיע מוריד הטל מכלכל חיים בחסד, מחיי הכל ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני העפר, מי כמוך בעל גבורות, ומידו מלך, מלך ממית ומחיה ומצמיח ישועה ונאמן אתה להחיות הכל ברוך אתה אדוני מחיה הכל
170.
אתה קדוש בשמך קדוש וקדושים בכל יום יהללוך סלה ברוך אתה אדוני Ha'el HaKadosh. You may be seated. We turn now to our moment of healing, our moment of Misha Berach, and just like the words of Rabbi Heschel, we don't know if these prayers will do actual physical healing for those who might need it, but they can mend a broken heart. They can send support to those of us who are caretakers. They can send strength and support, if not physical, but emotional and spiritual support to any of us ourselves, those in our immediate families, our communities, who are in need of healing of any kind, of mind, of body, or of spirit. So if you are thinking of someone this evening that you want to bring their name into this space so we can all hold that name together to pray for healing, please do so as I move across the room. And those names in our community?
From within the Temple Israel community, we pray for Yisrael Avraham Ben Chia Rachel, Marlene Blumenthal, James Bruni, Frida Easton, Steve Elliott, Roy Fuchs, Lanny Gans, Skylar Grossberg, John Hall, Jeff Helfand, David Hidalgo, Peter Hort, Natalie Kellner, Phyllis Kamansky, Mark Krigsman, Ira Levy, Don Matthews, Tammy Melman, Barbara Nash, Lori Nielsen, Sean Nielsen, Ruth Ocean, Alton Parody, Francine Plaza, Carol Randell, Dorothy Reynolds, Robbie Regano, Kathy Soroka, Esther Stone, Karen Sugarman, Sandy Troy, Joan Wetzler, and Yocheved Sarah Bat Etel.
For those names said out loud and those names we hold in our hearts, this prayer is for them all. Mi sheberach avoteinu mekor habracha leimotenu. May the source of strength, who blessed the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Mi sheberach imotenu mekor habracha lavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen.
And before we take a moment of our own silent personal prayer, it's also appropriate to turn forward just a few pages, page 377, and offer on this week of Yom Ha'atzmaut, Israeli Independence Day, a prayer for the state of Israel. I invite you to join me either in Hebrew or in English, whichever you choose. Avinu shebashamayim, tzor Yisrael v'goalo, barech et medinat Yisrael, Reshit tzmichat geulatenu. Hagen aleha be'evrat chastecha, ufros aleha sukat shlomecha, ushlach orcha v'amitcha l'rasheha sareha v'yotzeha, v'taknem be'etzat tova milfanecha, v'natata shalom ba'aretz v'simchat olam li'oshveha, v'nomar, Amen. O Heavenly One, Protector and Redeemer of Israel, bless the state of Israel, which marks the dawning of hope for all who seek peace. Shield it beneath the wings of your love. Spread over it the canopy of your peace. Send your light and truth to all who lead and advise, guiding them with your good counsel. Establish peace in the land and fullness of joy for all who dwell there. And we say together, Amen. We offer our individual silent prayers with the recognition that sometimes there are really beautiful words written on pieces of paper or sheets of music, but there are always beautiful words held within our hearts. So we invite you to offer them in whatever format, whatever language you choose at this time. Page 635. The words we're about to sing are a song of return, a song of dreaming of return to Jerusalem. For people who've been exiled for most of our history from our sacred place and our sacred space. And yet our eyes, our hearts were always turned in that direction. Shir Hamalot, a song of ascent, dreaming of Jerusalem.
Shir Hamalot מעלות בשוב אדוני את שיבת ציון היינו כחולמים שיר המעלות בשוב אדוני את שיבת ציון היינו כחולמים.
Friends, the Talmud in Tractate Brachot teaches when one prays and one is in the diaspora, meaning not in the land of Israel, one should focus their heart toward the land of Israel. When one is in the land of Israel and one prays, one should focus their heart toward Jerusalem. When one is in Jerusalem and one prays, one should focus their heart toward the Temple Mount. And if you are standing on the Temple Mount praying, you should focus your heart toward the location of the temple, the Holy of Holies. Consequently, one standing in prayer in the east turns to face west. One standing in the west, as we are, turns to face east. One standing in the south turns to face north. One standing in the north turns to face south. And thus, the entire people of Israel focus their hearts toward just one place: the Kotel, the wall in Jerusalem. On its surface, this passage that I've just quoted is teaching us about which direction we should face, depending on where we are geographically located on the surface of the earth. However, the terminology, the words that the Talmud uses for the phrase that I've translated as focus one's heart, in Hebrew, yichaven et libo, imply much, much more than the direction one should face. There are two parallel meanings to this phrase, yichaven et libo. The direction you should focus one's heart. As many of us know, it is traditional within the Jewish world for us to pray, for a sanctuary to be directed architecturally toward Jerusalem. Ours is not. Many Reformed congregations do not necessarily face east when we're here in the West. The congregation I grew up at faced north. Congregation I served before this, Central Synagogue, faced north. We face north. It's not because we're praying toward the polar bears and Santa Claus. It's because of the philosophy of Reformed Judaism that we didn't necessarily need to be physically facing Jerusalem in order for our hearts to be directed there. And thus, we accommodated whatever plot of land we acquired on which to build our sanctuaries. But the second meaning of this phrase, yichaven et libo, focus one's heart, is theological. The last time that this passage, the final time this passage mentions that phrase, the entire people of Israel focus their hearts toward one place. The Hebrew is yichaven et libam el makom echad. Makom literally means place. But in the rabbinic imagination, Makom is one of the names of God. God, in our imagination, is the place. Well, if there's any one location where God and place intersect, if there's any one place where God dwells, it was thousands of years ago above the ark in the Holy of Holies, in the temple in Jerusalem, and today it is surely the hotel in Jerusalem. Moreover, there is a Jewish tradition of placing what we call a mizrach on the eastern wall of a home or a synagogue. Mizrach means east. And so those of us in the West are to place something on our wall, and east on the eastern wall, to remind us not just which way to face if we happen to be praying at home or if we're praying here, but more importantly, to focus our hearts, to never forget that we, the entire Jewish people, are focused toward Israel and toward Jerusalem. I share these teachings with all of you on this evening, not just because it's the week of Yom HaTzmaut, but more importantly because we're about to dedicate a masterpiece, a magnificent work of art by Stephen Wilkes, and donated and dedicated by Stephen and his wife Betty in honor of Stephen's parents, in memory of Ruth and David Wilkes. Stephen will have much more to say about his work and about its meaning in just a few minutes. He'll have much more to say about his parents, too. Stephen has told me how they taught him the value of hard work. They taught him empathy and inspired his faith. Now, just after his parents' passing, Stephen and Betty brought up the idea of doing something to honor their memory and their legacy here at Temple Israel. That was when I gingerly and with somewhat degree of trepidation brought up the idea of installing Jerusalem Day Tonight here as a monumental work. And I use that word very intentionally, a monumental work here at Temple Israel. When they said yes, I was thrilled. And we searched the entire building for the perfect place, the perfect spot to place this gorgeous work of art, our Mizrach, a reminder to direct our hearts, to focus our hearts toward Jerusalem. And I believe we found it. What better way to enter our sacred space, to come into our building, to go up the stairs, make aliyah, that's what going up means, to the sanctuary. What better way to do that than by witnessing the gathering of the entire Jewish people at our most sacred spot, the Kotel. Janet Middleman, a former president of Temple Israel who couldn't be here in person tonight, commented that it seems as if we are all standing at Sinai in that photo. In the rabbinic tradition, it was not just the generation that left Egypt that arrived at the foot of Mount Sinai. It is all the Jews who would ever exist. Our souls were there in the rabbinic imagination. We all stood together at Sinai, those who were born and those who were not yet born, and those who had passed away. We were all there together to witness revelation and the gift of Torah. Well, what might standing together at Sinai, all of us, look like? Stephen, it looks like your tremendous masterpiece. So on behalf of our entire congregation, Stephen and Betty, We are so very grateful for your generous gift. We installed it, as the two of you know, in February of 2020, about 2 weeks before the pandemic changed our entire lives. We had a date set for dedication in the spring of 2020. We probably had another rescheduled date on the calendar at some point. So we are so grateful that we are able to be here together in good health and in such strong numbers, in person and online, to celebrate its dedication, your work's dedication, on this evening, finally. In the 2 years which it's been here, there's probably about a year of that, a year and a half of that, when not too many people saw it. But in recent months, I can tell you, it has already transformed our congregational home. It now serves as our Mizrach, as a reminder of the direction in which we are to focus our hearts. It's an inspiration to all, and it will continue to inspire generations of Temple Israel youth and adults for decades to come. Stephen, I invite you to the bema.
Thank you, Rabbi Friedman. That was really overwhelming, and you certainly have been a focus of all of our hearts, helped us focus our hearts for the betterment of our world. I just thank you so much for those incredible words. It is indeed so special to finally be gathered here tonight with all of you on Shabbat to dedicate this very meaningful photograph to me. Jerusalem, the priestly blessings, day to night. And it's in the loving memory of my parents, Ruth and David Wilkes. I'm so honored, really, to stand before you this evening, along with my family and my dear friends, to mark this very wonderful occasion. My parents really loved coming to Temple Israel, especially during the high holidays, and they always felt a connection to this congregation. Both my parents were religious, and through them, I was inspired to understand and define my own journey as a Jew. My mother was a Holocaust survivor. She escaped Vienna, Austria in 1939, traveling by ship by herself as a 9-year-old girl. She spoke no English, and she carried a forged passport. And in her hands was a teddy bear with all her family's belongings sewn into it. My mom somehow managed to get through this childhood experience and inspired me to be an artist, as she was a gifted opera singer, and she shared the joy of the creative spirit and understood that when you find life's passion, it can turn darkness into light. She often called me her poet with a camera and felt that my day-to-night work had connections to the spiritual world, and often would find verses in the Bible to share the feelings that she felt. May 5th is her yahrzeit, which we are gratefully going to acknowledge this evening, and there's not a day that goes by that I don't think about her. My father, David, came from an Orthodox family, and I remember he would daven every morning after he got dressed. I remember his hair would always be damp as he started to put on his tefillin, and as soon as he put his clothes on. His prayer book, which I still has the smell of cologne, because he would always make his prayers right after his shower. My dad had an incredible work ethic, and he was truly a great and generous man. But no matter how busy his life was in business, he always made time for his morning prayers. And as I began my studies for my bar mitzvah, my father sat down with my identical twin brother and myself to share something important. He said, "Boys, I want you to know something about our religious heritage." He said, "We are known in Judaism as high priests." Well, my brother and I sort of, we had no idea what a high priest meant, but we figured, well, gosh, if we're high priests, maybe we don't have to go to Hebrew school. So my father said, no, you absolutely must have to go to Hebrew school. He goes, we're known as Kohanim, the high priests, and we are direct descendants of Moses' brother Aaron. Well, we went to Hebrew school, and I was bar mitzvahed, and fast forward many, many years went by before I had an almost magical intersection between my past and my present. They collided. I began doing my day-to-night project in 2009, and the concept quickly evolved into a global project. I felt a real urge to go to Israel. You see, I'd never been to Israel. And I specifically wanted to create a definitive photograph of the Western Wall using my day-to-night technique. So I spent weeks studying every image of the Western Wall that I could find. And after I discovered suddenly that there were 2 photographs that had the Kotel filled with people, and I found a local scout in Israel, and I sent them the photos, and I asked him, what's going on in these pictures? And he said, those photographs were made during the blessings, and they happened during Passover and during Sukkot. So I thought, wow, Sukkot, that would be terrific. It's going to be autumn, and that would be a great time to do the picture. So we decided I was going to do the photograph during Sukkot. It would be the perfect time of year. So I gave my scout very specific instructions of what I wanted to try to, and what I wanted to photograph. I wanted the highest vantage point, a rooftop view. I wanted it centered and as close as possible to the wall. Miraculously, after 3 months of scouting, he found the perfect view in a vacant apartment in the Old City. We traveled and we walked into the Old City at midnight, the day of the blessings. And I set up my camera early so I could capture the first light as the sun rose for this special day. And as I finished setting up my camera, my scout, a religious man by the name of David Lewis, asked me if I knew what this day was about. And I answered that I believe it's one of the important holy days of the year for prayer. And he said, this day is the day that the Kohanim come to the wall to bless everyone. And my mouth began to drop open. And he looked at me with his eyes widening and said, Stephen, are you a Kohanim? And I said, I am. And he said, do you realize that everyone who comes here today are here to be blessed by you and your fellow Kohanim? Suddenly, as if through a cosmic connection, I was doing exactly what I was meant to do. I said the prayers throughout the day as I made this photograph. And of all my photographs, it has the most personal meaning to me. It is my hope that when you walk towards our beautiful sanctuary and enter, looking upon the east wall, that you seeing this photograph brings each of you the joy, the pride, and the spirit I felt when I created it. Thank you to my beautiful wife, Betty, who makes all of my dreams truly come true, and our beautiful and loving family, Jenny, Michael, and Sam, and our granddaughter, Sadie Ray. You guys inspire me every day, and especially to my wonderful parents. May your memory live forever on these walls, and I hope you are both smiling and enjoying this moment, hopefully sharing a babka together. Thank you, Rabbi, and thank you, everyone.
Friends, at the conclusion of our service, not just now yet, but at the conclusion of our service, we will all walk downstairs. We'll have a little processional downstairs. Kiddush and Motzi are set up, and Oneg is set up right in front of Jerusalem Day to Night. You can see the image right there. And as you see it, you will see that it has this golden light that emanates from the image. And so, we will sing of Jerusalem's golden light, Yerushalayim Shel Zahav, page 660.
אוויר הרים צלול כיין וריח אורנים נישא ברח הארבעים עם כל פעמונים ותרדמת אילן ואבן שבויה בחלומה העיר אשר בדד יושבת ובליבה חומה ירושלים של זהב ושל נחושת ושל אור הלא לכל שירייך אני כינור ירושלים של זהב ושל נחושת ושל אור הלא לכל שירייך אני כינור.
I also want to thank Ed Diamond, who helped us figure out the exact right spot, how the image would be presented, and helped us do all the work to reconfigure that foyer, that entranceway, to give Stephen and Betty's image the place of honor that it really deserves. Now I'll invite Ed to come forward, along with Sheila Weiss, Stacy Sobel, Michelle Korenman, Eliza Wind, and Jacob Navone, as we commemorate Yom HaShoah, Holocaust Remembrance Day. For those of you with a prayer book, I invite you to turn to page 522. Page 500, oh, I have the wrong. Thank you very much. Page 522. As one by one we'll light these candles in memory of, these yahrzeit candles in memory of the 6 million. You can light them one by one, please. We read these words by the modern Hebrew poet Hannah Senesh, herself one of those murdered by the Nazis. Ashrei hagafrur shenisraf v'chitzit lehavot. Blessed is the match consumed in the kindling flame. Blessed is the flame that burns in the secret fastness of the heart. Blessed is the heart with the strength to stop its beating for honor's sake. Blessed is the match consumed in kindling flame. So as a congregation, we kindle these lights in memory of the 6 million Jews murdered by the Nazis and their collaborators. May the memory of the righteous always be for a blessing. Zichronam livracha. So too, there are those we have lost more recently, either in recent days or at this season in years gone by. If you're here observing Shiva or Shloshim, for 7 or 30 days after the death of a loved one, we invite you to rise and to share their name out loud at this time. As a congregation, we remember with love Bradford Nolan Hammer, son of Ronnie, husband of April, father of Dylan, brother of Blaine, Preston, and the late Paige. John Weiss, husband of Sheila, father of Graham and John Jr., stepfather of James and Jonathan. Judith Winstrel, wife of Albert, mother of Nico and Matt Harriton, and Joshua Winstrel. We remember Lillian Bressman, mother of Beth Cohen, Rabbi Everett Gendler, Dr. Albert Morton Gordon, father of Debbie and Jem Solinger, Louis and Michelle Gordon, grandfather of Annabelle, Madeline, Tess, Yishai, Matan, and Roni. Ann Roberts, mother of Michael and Karen, Peter and Nancy, Emily and Alan Hirschfield, and Gloria Hausman, aunt of Jerry and Merrill Stone. At this time, if you're observing a yahrzeit, the anniversary of the passing of a loved one, we invite you to rise and share their name aloud at this time.
My father, Robert Harper. My father, Max Weaver. My father, Nathan Copeland. My mom, Julie Gladstone. Elaine Rabinowitz.
And as a congregation, in addition to those mentioned, we remember Faye Berman, Samuel Borenstein, Norman Brockfeld, Esther Citronbaum, Richard Crane, Jay Dallas, Elaine Evans, Andy Fain, Jerome Feingold, Alan Fingerman, Jolien Gladstone, Robert Harper, Aaron Kay, Nathan Koppelman, Michael Koskoff, Lieutenant James Levy, Alan Loss, Herbert Myers, Florence Rao, Gerald Roberts, Harry Robbins, Hal Roffey, Lee Rosenblum, Philip Ross, Abraham Schachter, Carol Ann Shoki Rothke, Rose Asher Shoki, Kenneth Shaw, Alan Soskin, Stella Stiskin, George Teplitz, Lillian Liveman Wachtel, Dennis Wadler, Ruth Wilkes, Shirley Wind, Max Winograd, and Sandra Ziering. For them too, we say Zichronam Livracha. Page 598, we all rise for Kaddish Yatom, Mourner's Kaddish. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, be'alma divrach hirutei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayechon u'vyomechon, u'chayei decho Beit Yisrael, ba'gala u'bizman kariv v'imru amen. Yehi shmei Rabbah mevarach le'alam u'lamei almaya, yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitba'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yithadar v'yitale v'yitalal shemei dekudusha b'richu, le'ela mincho birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, da'miran be'alma v'imru amen. Yehi shalom Rabbah min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Osei shalom b'imromav, v'yaseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. May the Holy One of blessing who creates harmony on high bring peace and comfort to all of us. And we say, Amen.
Oseh shalom b'imromav, v'yaseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imeru amen.
Thank you all for being with us on such a special evening. We hope that every single one of you will be back here next Friday as we have our installation celebration for Cantor Julia Cadrain. I can tell you that the assemblage of rabbis, cantors, and musicians will be like nothing you've ever seen here at Temple Israel. This place was going to be rocking. It's going to be amazing. You're not going to want to miss it. Or, of course, you can join us online, as always. And then next Saturday night, a celebratory concert starring Cantor Cadrain and her wife, Ilana Arian, and some other guest musicians as well. That will be next Saturday night at 7:30. Mitzvah Day is on Sunday. I don't want to forget that. Mitzvah Day is on Sunday. Come back, help us do lots of good for many people, both locally and far away, at 10:30, I believe it starts.
10:30.
At 10:30 this Sunday. And normally, this is when we do Kiddush and Motzi up here, but as I mentioned, we're all going to process out. We will follow Sam and Leo and Isaac downstairs, and once we're all assembled downstairs, we'll do Motzi and Kiddush together there. If you'd like to use the elevator, you can use the elevator. You can go straight down the hall. There's an elevator on your left, and we'll regather downstairs. You can leave the prayer books up here.
Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Umevorach, Shabbat Shalom, Umevorach, Shabbat